Good afternoon, everyone. I am Abhinav Jain, founder of Almonds Solutions. And today, it's a very special day for us because we are starting our very unique conversational series with India's top channel and trade leaders. And we call it Channel Champions. And today, it's very interesting because we have one of the largest FMCGs companies, Associate Vice President, Mr. Rohit Guleria, who leads Hindustan Coca-Cola's trade. So, Rohit, thank you so much for joining with us today.
Thank you.
And for those who know how big it is, I just also want to understand from all of you, because this is not the first time we are talking about channel engagement, loyalty solutions, etc. It is also very inherent for us that we need to understand how it works. Why Rohit is very special? Because he comes with a very strong, many years of experience in trade, channel, sales, and many other, the ground stuff as we call it in the layman language. And before Hindustan Coca-Cola, he was also at Henkel and Perfetti. So the kind of experience that he brought on table is amazing. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to learn from him today. So Rohit, I want to start from the basics today, right?
Sure.
What is channel, or define a channel in a layman language?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people understand channel as everyone has a different definition of channel, but the way FMCG looks at channel, the way digital looks at channel, they will be very, very different. So I'll share my version of FMCG way of looking at channel. We say at a broad level, we define traditional trade and modern trade are the two biggest way of looking at a channel. But then there are double clicks on everything. When we say general trade has further sub-segments in form of grocery, convenience, and eating and drinking. And then there are wholesalers, there are hub and spoke, which largely cater to a rural part of India. When we look at modern trade, we say national key accounts. National key account is a structured way of doing business wherein you have a agreement at national level, a relationship to be maintained at national level. And channels here are again multi-folds. We say modern trade in form of B2C, B2B. B2C is like largely you see D-Marts and Reliance or Spar of the world. They are called as B2C. And then when you talk about Walmarts of the world or Big Bazaar of the world, they are called as B2B. B2B is a business who sells to the retailers, not to the consumer. But in B2C, retailers sell to the consumer. That's the biggest difference. Then for us, there are further segments into these channels. For example, railways or airports. There are also channels and their demand of the consumer and demand of the customer is very different. If you walk into an airport, you will see a can of Coca-Cola is at 100 rupees. When you go to a cafe or a fine dine, you will find can of 60 rupees of Coca-Cola. When you go to a neighboring goods store, you will find Coke can of 40 rupees. Correct. Because the needs of the outlet and need of the place is very different. That is how we segment our channels. And it is also important to understand that shopping mission of a consumer varies from channel to channel. When we talk about eating and drinking, the mission of the consumer is he's not walking into the outlet to consume my product. He's walking into the store to consume food. And I need to find association of my product with food so that I'm consumed. And hence it becomes important for us to play like that in that outlet. When we go to a grocery, my consumption occasion is not in the outlet, it is the future consumption. Because tomorrow, day after tomorrow, if they are doing a pantry topper for a month, pantry topper for a week, they know that what are the shopping occasion at home. But when you talk about convenience is a big panwala, pharmacist. Their shopping consumption experience or need is not to take home or consume there, it is on the go. So that is how shopping mission also defines that what role we play in that channel.
And I like the word shopping mission.
Yes.
Because we never shop like a mission, but it is actually a mission.
It's actually a mission. And we need to, and see, shopping mission we can't define. Shopping mission is what consumer defines. We need to find where we fit into that shopping mission. Only then you will be relevant to the consumer.
And that's where the product also plays an important role. Because in shopping mission, the different journey, different product will play different placement.
It definitely plays a very, very important role because let's say the reason of consuming a juice or reason of consuming a beverage like sparkling or reason of consumption of water varies. Varies from consumer to consumer, and needs are also very different. So
Very interesting. I think what I feel here, okay, that first of all you clarified there are different channels, and every channel has a different role to play, and consumer also looks at these channels in a different way altogether during their mission to shop, right? But I think what I understood as well in your explanation, there are various different types of channel partners that you will have, right? And you have to engage with them in various ways to make sure that they are aware of your product, they are happy, probably giving you feedback about the customers and buyers as well. So my question to you would be, what challenges do you face, especially while engaging these channel partners? And if you can probably share some examples from your journey, from engaging with these channel partners. You have been doing this for many years.
So it is a very, very interesting question, and the answer varies from the type of channel. When we talk about general trade is low on relationship. I'm not saying that relationship is not important there. It is very important, but it is handled by since the scale is so much. In India, we have more than 10 million outlets across India. And it is important to have a one-on-one relationship with them. Correct. By any single person or single entity. Their relationship is maintained by our the field who is covering them in the desired frequency. And of course, we train those people to how to maintain your relationship, manage your relationship. And of course, the biggest trigger of that relationship is service. If you are servicing the outlet, enabling them to grow and mint money or make money out of your product, that's the biggest service or that's the biggest drive for a relationship. But when you talk about modern trade, you definitely need to be extra cautious because we are dealing with the companies of your size or a size bigger than you. And their stakeholders are as educated or as senior as you are. And then the deal is that earlier it used to be a spoke kind of system that one person is speaking to another person and the entire organization is standing behind them. Now it is not like that because we are moving towards the direction of being expert. Now today it is a chessboard kind of an arrangement where the key account person talks to the buyer, the AVP talks to AVP because there are also hierarchies and relationship plays an important role. And also in that relationship it is important that how you engage with each person. Supply chain engages with supply chain because routines are very, very important in such kind of relationship, and hierarchical mapping of annual JBP along with the CEO, maybe a fortnightly meeting with the VP level person, and then the modern trade heads or the channel heads to meet at monthly level, and the account manager need to meet at a weekly level with the stakeholders to understand the live issues. So eventually at the end of the day in the industry, availability of the product and your behavior with the counterparts, your relationship and your investment is makes the biggest difference. We always say it is important to understand their KRA so that you help them deliver their KRA that define the relationship trigger for in the organized way of working.
Yeah, I think everyone says that way only, that no one is looking for your solutions. They're looking for solving their problems, right? And that's very important for whether we as a platform provider or you as a product provider to eventually your channel partners who eventually sell it to a consumer or a buyer.
Yes.
So I think that remains constant throughout any business.
Absolutely.
We have to solve someone's problem. That's why they will find that solution. I mean, we do not buy a tablet as they say. हम हमेशा सर दर्द की गोली लेते हैं, right? हम सिर्फ गोली नहीं लेते हैं. हमें सर दर्द होता है तो वो गोली सही कर देती है. तो आपके चैनल पार्टनर्स के भी कुछ challenges आते हैं क्या ऐसे? So relationship is very important, as I understand. What else?
See, it is important to understand what is the model of the other person and what is their expectation. So I'll give you an example. For example, and I'll largely talk about the organized sector here because it will be much more relevant. आप सब उससे associate भी कर पाएंगे. डीमार्ट का कंज्यूमर डिफरेंट है, रिलायंस का कंज्यूमर डिफरेंट है और डी मार्ट का कंज्यूमर डिफरेंट है. बिल्कुल. मुझे उसे सॉल्यूशन उसके डिमांड के हिसाब से देना पड़ेगा. अगर मैं ग्लास बॉटल को मैं अगर ली मार्च पे रखना शुरू कर दूंगा तो उसका एक्सेप्टेंस नहीं होगा. आई नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हाट इज द नीड ऑफ माय कंज्यूमर एंड प्रोवाइड देम सॉल्यूशन. I have a plethora of, let's say, 200 plus SKUs, but all will not be relevant for all the outlets. And that is where you play that role. And then again, I think beyond that, they also have a targets of their own profitability. How you are enabling them by sharing your knowledge, by fitting your giving solution which help them earn more and churn more, is something which I believe is one of the biggest differentiators.
Okay. And along with this, what strategies do you think that brands should apply, or industry? I would not use a brand or a company or just a segment, to enhance this relationship with them. So of course the foot soldier is very important. Rightly you mentioned कि यदि हम उनको वो experience, वो service नहीं देंगे, चाहे वो CEO के साथ yearly meeting हो या 6 month meeting या VPs के साथ fortnightly meeting हो, that is very important. But do you also think that there are other ways, like rewards plays a very important role, the experiences which you offer plays a very important role, these meetings, but beyond meetings also the the relationship building exercises that brands do plays an important role?
It plays a very important role, but again, how much we are able to reward everybody is a point to ponder upon. But I will say that, and I will dissect it into modern trade and general trade. When we talk about general trade, there I think loyalty program plays an important role, but you can't distribute it to everybody.
Correct.
You have to handpick people, because Pareto principle is applicable in all kind of businesses, that handful of 10-15% of people will be contributing to 70-80% of your volume.
Correct.
You have to identify those people and engage with them, because हम सबको मालूम है कि जब हम Amazon या Flipkart से परचेज या Paytm से कुछ ट्रांजैक्शन करते हैं, Google से ट्रांजैक्शन करते हैं, तो हमें जो स्क्रैच कार्ड आता है उसमें रिटर्न 1-2 रुपए का होता है, लेकिन हमें अच्छा लगता है.
हाँ, correct.
तो वो जो एक्साइटमेंट है कि मुझे कुछ वापस मिला, वो सबसे बड़ा है. और दूसरा जो सरप्राइज फैक्टर है कि मुझे क्या मिलेगा, वो एंगेजमेंट के लिए बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है. और आई बिलीव लॉयल्टी प्रोग्राम प्लेज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल, एंड वी हैव सीन द रिजल्ट्स ऑफ इट, दैट वी हैव अ पॉजिटिव स्विंग of XY% versus the outlet which are not enrolled.
Correct.
But beyond loyalty programs also, it is important to beyond that, of course this is important, beyond that it is important that we are helping or we are building the right picture of success for kind of channels we are talking about. As I said, that shopping mission is different. How I'm able to connect consumer when consumer walks into the outlet, how I am triggering those thoughts that when you go back, you might need Coke or you might need a beverage, and in the outlet I need to trigger those thoughts by maybe by share of visible inventory, or by having some occasion based marketing in the store, by ensuring some activation elements, because somewhere advertisement is playing its role, people are associating with the brand, but when they step into the outlet, data says that 50-60% plus of the decisions are made in the outlet, because maybe it is not that you have decided at home. You may not be part of the shopping list, the original shopping list, but when you are activated your outlet, and somewhere if your outlet owner also plays that role of asking that question, do you need this? McDonald's had done that very well, that after every burger they ask for a beverage.
Correct.
So, and that is why the incidence level in the burger industry is very high with beverages, because there is a trigger, people is asking about it. So when these kind of combination of things happen, where you drive picture of success, you drive relationship in form of loyalty program, you have a consultative selling. So these are the things which goes beyond and play very important role.
And do you also believe just the loyalty program won't work? You constantly need to massage and make sure that they are happy with the service. The product is also performing well.
Absolutely.
Right? And
absolutely, in isolation, if you think that loyalty program only works, it can backfire badly. People will not engage. It's a kind of relationship. I will only engage with you in case I like you as a person, then reward comes after that. So reward is the byproduct. I always will say reward is the byproduct, and that byproduct is welcome. Only if we are in a relationship.
Correct.
So,
and also you said that many decisions are made at the retail outlet when you are there. तो जैसे पहले कहते थे ना, जो दिखता है वही बिकता है. So out of sight, out of mind, right? So that still works, and that's why I think. And do you think that digital actually plays a role in that? Because in your category, what we are particularly looking at it, yes, they are taking decisions when they are at the shop. मैं एक बेसिक सा एग्जांपल लेता हूँ. मैं किसी पान वाले के पास जाता हूँ और उससे कहता हूँ एक कोक की बॉटल देना. यदि उसके पास कोक की अवेलेबिलिटी है तो वो दे देगा, नहीं तो वो कहेगा सर कोक नहीं है, XYZ ले लीजिए, राइट? तो वहां दिख रहा है मेरे को पोस्टर कोक का, बट अवेलेबिलिटी स्टिल प्लेज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल, राइट?
If my product is not available and my branding is available, it is called advertisement because their product is not there. So as a company, we always believe we only need to activate outlet only if your product is there.
Is available.
Because we are BTL, trade, we are doing trade marketing. We are not into marketing. Marketing is something which comes without product. It is more from awareness point of view. So we never get indulged into anything which is minus product.
Minus product.
Yes.
I'm learning some good words from you. Shopping mission, minus product.
Now, coming back to after COVID, and what we learned is that many of these things were done physically.
Yeah.
Everything pretty much, without shaking a hand, there was not even a single dollar of sales or rupees of sales happening. कोविड ने हमको सिखा दिया कि भाई ये चीजें घर पर बैठ के भी हो सकती हैं. हाँ, इम्पैक्ट है, बट देयर इज अनदर थिंग कॉल्ड काउच कन्वीनियंस, ओके, व्हिच मेक्स अ वेरी things very different. In fact, working from home and still, I have a very strict work from office policy, but the people keep on asking and we have to support them. So another thing that brands have learned, that by doing things digitally, you can earn a lot more data. And I'm using the word earn because eventually it's a money. Data is the new oil. Where do you think that it's heading to, and where do you think that data could actually play a larger role than the experiences that you're giving or just the transactional value that's brought on the table?
I don't know how accurate I'll be able to answer this, because R is a product game, and for marketers, it's a very, very big plus. We normally go hyper local. Whenever somebody, in case Google can tell you today that in one outlet what's the footfall, and based on that you can decide that if this is a footfall, what will be my possible conversion, because I know that my incidence level is X%.
Correct.
So that's the technology. But how can and somewhere marketers know that these are the time, it's a lunch hour. In case somebody is browsing on mobile phone and we are having a digital marketing going on, we always can trigger that you are moving towards your lunch. Have you had your beverages? So you always can trigger those thoughts. If somebody is walking from, let's say, a shopping mall, and you know that there is an outlet there, you can trigger that, why don't you walk in and have your lunch in this outlet. So those are the digital pluses which has happened, and it's a revolution which has happened in the last 2-3 years. Yeah. We are not able to leverage it that much because we are still into a product business, although that marketing helps us trigger and we get consumed. But I will largely talk about how landscape has changed during or after COVID. I'll give an example of one of the industry, which is B2B. Earlier, we used to talk about in B2B industry, our salience of e-B2B, we call it now. E-B2B used to be very, very minuscule.
And what's e-B2B?
E-B2B is, you have no store.
Okay.
You just place order. There's a dark store, you place order and like big bazaar.
Okay.
Sorry, big basket.
Big basket.
You place your order, there's no store. You can't walk into a big basket store. There's no big basket store. You place order and tomorrow they deliver it to your home. So it's a low cost model. And in B2B that works. Earlier they used to have stores like Metro and Reliance Cash and Carry or Walmart. They still are. But after COVID, the landscape changed so much that at least in B2B industry, a lot of people moved on to a dark store.
Yeah.
They take orders online and they service it next day. It has also impacted our industry, the way we used to work. Earlier, in the old era, it used to be a one outlet, one distributor approach, that there are 10 outlets connected to one distributor. Nobody else can even dare to get into that zone because that is his or her defined area. With digitalization and a lot of new channels emerging around us, one outlet is getting serviced by multiple channels. You can't stop it because application is there on everybody's mobile phone. They are placing order, and next day there's a delivery committed by that eB2B player. So that scenario is not that you have a monopoly of service by one distributor. So one is this change. It works both the ways. Of course, we also attempt in protecting the rights of our distributors because they are old partners. But it is an emerging model. We can't escape beyond a point with these emerging models. We have to partner with them. So how we benefit out of it is that our service to any outlet can be a frequency of 1x or 2x a week. We can't service outlet on day-to-day basis because manpower is limited, resources are always limited.
Correct.
With these B2B players, imagine a situation that I have supplied a product to an outlet and product goes out of stock next day because of some high sale. This outlet need to wait for a week for next service and my 4 to 5 days sales goes out of stock. Now this person has an option of placing order online on his mobile phone and the delivery commitment is next day. By that, I'm also at peace and outlet is also at peace and distributor also has nothing to lose.
Correct.
So it's a win-win situation and I think we all need to embrace technology and make best use of it in whichever way we all can.
Correct. So last time when we spoke, you said model of inclusive growth, right?
So yeah, it's like my one of the favorite topics. So model of inclusive growth is that every channel is at a very different stage of evolution. We say traditional trade, name traditional talks about it, that it's a bana banaya business hai. Modern trade talks about modern trade hai. Or instant mart is the latest child in the block, and it has changed the way.
10 minutes delivery and
absolutely
next day delivery and all of that.
Think about it. Whenever I keep my beverages, used to keep my beverages at home, my son used to consume it before I used to consume it, and of course we did never want them to imbibe, because their consumption habits goes out of control.
Correct.
So to imbibe that, we have stopped keeping beverages because we know that in case I have urge of consuming something, I can place order and this product will be delivered to me chilled at my home.
Correct.
So this plays a very important role, and I see a lot of industries are getting benefited by instant mart. For example, chocolates, condoms, beverages, ice creams. They are runaway hit in the instant mart.
Correct.
But if I go to a previous model of Amazon and Flipkart, we like the FMCG used to struggle because our product cost is 10 rupees and delivery cost is 70 rupees. It was not fitting into the model. While this model of 10-minute delivery is very much getting accepted or is a welcoming sign for the industries which are into an impulse category. So model of inclusive growth, I'll go back to the original question. So I say that every model is, or every channel is at a different stage of growth. And we see that. We always read in the newspapers that rural is going ahead of urban.
Yeah.
Metros have matured. In metros, maybe the top notch like Limash will have a higher growth while the middle class will stabilize. So somewhere we need to understand that how economy or how the industry overall is growing, and we need to play that role. For that, we need to divide the channels into multiple channels and understand where we stand today, and understand if you are growing, what is the source of growth. And source of growth is defining the source of growth, because we see rural grows ahead of urban, E&D grows ahead of convenience, and grocery grows ahead of convenience during COVID. Since grocery was the only open outlet, we knew that put your money on grocery because that is where you will be able to service today. Pharma was the another channel. So you need to understand that what kind of situation you see in the market. Wholesale is something which I believe companies are grabbing, because largely for any FMCG company, 50% plus distribution, because as I said, there are 10 million plus outlets in the industry and in the market. You can't have that many manpower, because let's say on roughly 250 outlets are getting serviced by one person. You divide 10 million outlets by 250, you will need 1 lakh people to service these outlets. You can't have that kind of manpower. But there are models like wholesale is a model which help you redistribute your product at a lower cost. Hence, the way you distribute in market is you have a direct distribution in the outlet where you have your manpower, and the balance is always helped by the wholesalers which have an indirect distribution into those outlets.
Correct.
So we need to understand which channel plays what role and what kind of growth you expect, and put your money there where you know that wind is blowing in which direction. Put your money there, and then go for the kill.
This is very interesting. I think
what we always used to think, and I come from a software sales or development background, there was always a requirement, there was always a predefined need, and that there was always someone who was ready to buy when it's ready. And most of the time it was paid beforehand, right?
Yeah.
Coming to a product where you're finding a right channel partner, the right channel partner is getting it distributed to the right retailers or probably near to the consumer, and then eventually the consumer is buying at their own shopping time. Like you mentioned, 10 minutes before, an hour before, a day before, or probably a week before, right?
Yeah.
It's very interesting, but I think what's more interesting here is now in the last 5 years, since a lot of data has come into play, big brands, big agencies, big data platform providers, they have been collecting data about the behavioral shift that we have seen. And eventually it's converting into learnings, which eventually is showing up in form of AI and all of that. So I'm sure you may have heard of ChatGPT, which has happened and suddenly it disrupted the way you used it already, right? So where do you think AI, and I have a good example which I'll definitely share with you, will play an important role? Will it play, or if it plays that, where will it actually be able to enhance your channel engagements with your channel partners differentially?
I think again, very, very interesting question, very, very pertinent to the situation we all are into. Image, IR or AI. We normally call it IR because our AI is from IR.
Yeah, correct.
IR is an image recognition, and somewhere I believe. But before I attempt that question, I believe too much of everything is also bad.
Correct.
So I believe that somewhere today, right now, we need to balance out that how much we need to make use of it and how much we need to rely on old ways of working, because somewhere you need people to drive it. But how to make sense out of the data, because data is getting gathered in lakhs and crores.
Yeah, billions of rows.
Billions of rows, and you need to make sense out of it. Earlier, in the initial days of my career, we used to have an Excel sheet in which I used to work upon, and it was very easy to extract data out of it. Today, my analytics, my data analysts also is not able to use Excel because Excel is not able to hold that many number of rows.
Correct.
And data extraction has become a issue, and hence the technology has moved on to a new platform.
Correct.
But I believe that how we as an industry make benefit out of it is that if I am into a beverage and I have an affinity with some other association with some kind of similar neighboring categories, for example, snacking is a category, or maybe a biscuit is a category, or Maggi is a category. If I see that I have an affinity or close association with these kind of categories, and I'm not available in my image recognition, I see that my XYZ range is not available, but this Doritos is available there, or maybe Pringle is available there. I need to ensure that iCoke is also available there. Correct. Because that's the right outlet to place this kind of similar product. And that is where we play that role of cross-selling and upselling. Upselling in a way that you see that maybe of a similar association, a bigger pack is available, but I am placing the lower packs there, and I see that pack is getting consumed. I definitely need to introduce my bigger pack there because consumption is happening. There's a need, there's a demand. Correct. So that is how we make use of AI and IR right now. Maybe we need to learn more. Maybe the partners like you will play that role. But we are at a very, very, very mid stage of using it. Of course, data extraction is something which we are learning. But I firmly believe that it plays a very important role. But we have to be very watchful. How much is too much?
And what are you searching on ChatGPT, by the way?
No, I was about to attempt one of the cultural discussions, and I was struggling to find a write-up on it. So I wrote some questions. What should be the best write-up for this kind of situation? It threw up some stories around it that helped me build my story, and I ultimately was able to attempt it well.
Right. So I think that's how it's happening right now. I have an example which I always felt would be very relevant to not just beverage, but in a food and beverage category altogether. Brands like yours
spend a lot of money in putting coolers out there or shelves out there, but there is a challenge. You could call it in your language purity, or you call it, is my shelf holding my products, right? Yeah. AI actually can play a very important role in doing two things out there. Number one, you would come to know if the shelf is actually being used for the products it was intended for. Second, can you engage your shelf planner or your retailer or the shopkeeper, whosoever it is, in making sure that they constantly engage with your shelf to put your products out there. And here is what one of our developers thought about it. They said that imagine you have an application which is there with every retailer, and you have a cooler or a shelf out there, and in that application you have a section where you could say click here to check your shelf. When someone clicks on that, it opens the camera and it quickly scans the shelf, and there itself it tells you, okay, this shelf has probably 20% your products, 30% your competitors, and 50% irrelevant. And that's not it. Immediately it opens up and says to the shelf planner or retailer, saying that if you immediately put up products out here within next 2 hours or 2 minutes or whatever it is, we give you some rewards for doing that, right? And if he does it or she does it, then you instantly give them a reward, probably a certificate or whatever it is. But what I'm thinking here is that here is a perfect example of image recognition coupled with engagement, with instant gratification, all the 3 topics that we actually talked about today. So it's not just about using technology, it is also about how you applicate this technology to make something happen, and eventually giving that experience of instant reward, which absolutely trumps it all, no doubt on that. So Rohit, I think it was good talking to you today and learning about these, I've learned 3 words, very good words: shopping mission, which is absolutely model of inclusive growth, no doubt on that. And what you rightly mentioned about is that the time of the purchase depends on what you want to do with that product that you're purchasing. So I think that was great, everyone. I hope you loved it, and there was a lot of insights that has come from Rohit, and with his so humble and very clear, knowledge that he was able to share with us. Let's give a big round of applause for him.